On the outskirts of Statesville, Herr Brandmeister wants a word with the J-50, and almost gets it. Such is the way things happen down south in North Carolina. Flying Scotsman is still in possession of the special water wagons. Despite Scottish pride telling him there is no such thing as too much drink, he may be approaching his limits. Spot continues to make his rounds as Gord and Chadson become better acquainted. Gord says that trolley fares are a tool of oppression against the proletariat, and that the only way he can atone for his sin of participating in the system is by humbly becoming chairman of the party after the revolution. Chadson laughs. Clearly, this is not a communist. The Black Five is back in the United States, but is making a little detour to a place she has heard a lot about. The APTE has been acquired by the California High-Speed Rail Authority. They may not have much high-speed track, but they figure the tilting train should be good for 90 on the 30-mile-per-hour freight track over Tehachapi Pass so they can say they've gotten something running. The APTE says, "California, here I come." Gadwall asks Mallard why they were not given their old jobs back now that the APTE is gone. The L1, coming back into the roundhouse after making the local passenger run to Ye Old Fortress, tells the A4s not to look a gift horse in the mouth and enjoy the time off. The J50 is heading for Asheville, but someone wants a word. The T1 comes back through town behind his new court-ordered escort. The T1 must be escorted until he learns what speed limits are. The Ace of Disgrace is happy to oblige, however. The T1 is embarrassed to no end that he's been paired with an engine painted for Penn Central, a company that resulted from his railroad, the Pennsylvania, merging with rival New York Central, creating one railroad that collapsed into a bankruptcy so severe it took an act of Congress to sort it out. The T1 wonders if he has a case for cruel and unusual punishment. A chassis system switch engine from West Virginia rolls into Salisbury with Bob on a flat car and finds Chadson. The switch engine asks Chadson to keep his dog out of their yard. The small diesel is mesmerized by the old Fort loops. Gadwall has a plan. If she and Mallard prove they can match the performance of the other passenger trains, they might get their jobs back. Flying Scotsman offers some special water to Gadwall as go juice. Gadwall declines and goes to find a set of coaches. The J50 comes off the mountain and hides in the diesel yard. Herr Brandmeister follows the J50, cornering him and finally in a position to have that word he wanted. Herr Brandmeister tells the J50 that if he wants a bigger fireball, he should mix some diesel fuel in with the gunpowder. The J50 heads south for some reason. The APTE comes back to the yard, having forgotten the sticky note with the password to the food synthesizers. Princess Arthur brings the northbound passenger train into town as Gadwall backs her own train into the station. Princess Arthur is not sure what Gadwall is doing, but learned a long time ago that it's best not to question what London Northeastern engines are up to. As the Standard 4 backs down to the station to relieve Princess Arthur, a short train departs for West Virginia with a stowaway on board. The Standard 4 departs for Washington, and so does Gadwall. The Standard 4 does not know what's gotten into Gadwall, and doesn't want to know, quite frankly. The J-50 passes through town with his Pennsylvanian souvenirs in tow and warns everybody that the angry garden shed is coming. With the sticky note located, the APTE heads west again. A Great Eastern Railway J-70 class tram engine trundles into town and finds Flying Scotsman sitting under the coal tower. The tram says there are 2 dirty wagons, one of which, with 3 X's on the side, that were stolen from him and must be returned to him. Scotsman, still intoxicated, replies, "You and what army?" Scotsman says the tram engine has a very cute pet kitty. Dippity returns, along with Sheriff Panko, fresh off his vacation. Super Trooper comes into town. Sheriff Panko requests his assistance in putting an end to the Moonshine, but Super Trooper is on leave for his honeymoon with Miss Katie. The sheriff will have to find someone else to help him out. The Black Five is relaxing on the East Strasburg platform. She's had a good time, but she figures she should probably start thinking about heading back to North Carolina. The 3 fugitive Dash-8s sneak into the yard. The leader sees the Jack Daniels boxcar and goes for it. The Dash-8s hear someone clear their throat. Sheriff Panko has a proposition for the Dash-8s. The yard goat found the gun in an inconvenient location and is moving the gun somewhere else. Chadson comes back to the trolley loop and sees the gun. Chadson says to Gord, "Someday she'll be my gun." Gord says, "Don't you mean our gun?" Now Chadson knows Gord is a communist. The small diesel is mesmerized by Spencer Junction. The small diesel thinks it's a good idea to now be mesmerized by the tunnel and the main line north out of town. The H-1A Hudson rolls into town and meets Spot, whose ears are still ringing from Gord and Chadson getting into it. Spot asks the Hudson why it was necessary to stir things up by bringing a communist trolley to a line occupied by a star-spangled Yankee Doodle folly trolley. The H-1 says it's not personal or directed at Spot, it's just a matter of one big mouth deserving another. The Hudson is given the all aboard, but doesn't get too far. City of Bath asks the H-1 Hudson for directions to Cornwall. The H-1 assumes that City of Bath is talking about Cornwall, Ontario, and gives directions to there. City of Bath says thank you and immediately prepares to depart northbound. The H-1 Hudson heads out of town, hoping to make up for the unusual delay. City of Bath couples up to his coaches. The tram and the big kitty sit nearby. They ask City of Bath if he has seen... The J-50 comes off the mountain and meets the tram engine and big kitty. The tram engine says, "That's the one." The J-50 splits up the mountain. The tram and the Y6B, kitty follow suit. Steve Irvan is absolutely fascinated by the angry garden shed and his kitty. so he follows them. The Ivat mogul can't shake the feeling that things are about to get interesting around here.